Hi everyone, this is Mix from Sneaks and Ball PH, and today we have the full performance review on the Adidas DON Issue number 3. To start things off, if you do like the video, please make sure to leave a thumbs up down below. Then if you have any comments, questions, or any suggestions for future videos, please feel free to leave them in the comment section down below as well. Then I'll also be leaving a link to the SNBPH Sneaker Hunters Facebook group in the description box, so I do hope you can join us over there because that is a place where we talk about sneakers and basketball quite a bit, and it's also where we have the SNBPH Steel Cabinet where I take some shoes that I no longer use or some shoes that I've reviewed in the past and put them up for bidding at way below market value. Then if you haven't already, I do hope you can sub to the channel because it really does help us out quite a lot. Then just a couple of quick announcements. The first one is that once again the Philippines is in lockdown, so I won't be able to do a lot more of these performance reviews because we are on lockdown until like almost the end of August. So we'll pretty much just have the performance review on these as well as the Zoom Freak 3s. Then my second announcement is that I will be taking a week-long break, so I won't be uploading videos next week. And it kinda is just a sanity break because I am kinda getting slightly burned out. So as always, just take care of yourselves, especially your mental state, especially since we're still in a pandemic. I will be back the week after though, and we'll get right back to work. So with that out of the way, we have the full performance review of the Adidas DON Issue 3. The DON Issue signature line is actually the one that gets me the most excited most of the time. And second, because they made such a good impression on me the first time with the Adidas DON Issue number 1. So being that I really enjoyed the DON Issue number 1, I do have high expectations for every new DON Issue shoe. And with the DON Issue number 2, it was kind of a letdown for me. And with his newest shoe, the DON Issue number 3, I was definitely really curious to see how it would do. So let's get into it to see how I would break it down and to see what my final verdict on the shoe will be. So we will start off with the traction, and the DON Issue number 3 does have a sort of net or web-like pattern with mostly translucent rubber and some solid rubber here at the forefoot and heel. The traction overall did work pretty well, and if you are playing on a really clean court, then it'll stick really hard. A problem does occur when it kind of collects dust because you don't get that same grip, and you can actually kind of feel yourself sliding around a little bit. It isn't too bad though to the point that you can slip, but you can definitely feel the difference if you're playing on a dusty court versus a clean court. The durability of the outsole is pretty good. The rubber is nice and hard, and my pair didn't really experience much fraying, and it doesn't really show that much wear. So overall for the traction, I am gonna have to give it a B+. It is definitely pretty good and durable, but you just have to make sure to keep these clean and wipe them if you're playing on dusty courts. Then for the cushion on the shoe, the DON Issue number 3 makes use of a full-length light strike midsole. You do get a bit of plushness and comfort from the midsole, especially if you're just walking around or jumping around, but it does kind of lack that bouncy feeling that we saw on the Dream 6 and 7. Then in terms of feeling low to the ground and responsive, it definitely isn't as low to the ground as the Harden Volume 4, but it definitely feels pretty responsive and you feel quick on your feet. So overall, I think the cushion is definitely more towards these shifty guards like Donovan Mitchell, because it definitely doesn't have an abundance of impact protection as well as plushness like Boost, and it also doesn't feel anywhere near as bouncy as Nike's Zoom. It is pretty low to the ground, stable, and responsive though, so it's definitely, in my opinion, a good guard shoe. So overall for the cushion, I'm gonna have to give it a B. I did give the cushion on the shoe a B because I was expecting a little more plushness, a little more bounce back, but for what it is, and especially if you are a shifty guard, this cushion setup should be more than adequate. Then moving on to the materials, the DON Issue number 3 does have a fully textile upper, with most of the shoe having this sort of padded micro mesh, and with the back half having this very silky and almost satiny feeling textile. The materials definitely don't feel premium, but they are pretty soft to the touch and soft on foot, and I didn't really have any problems with the materials. I mean, it required no break-in time, and it does kind of just fit around your foot comfortably. The materials are also pretty nice and light, and the tongue has a pretty open-celled mesh, so it's breathable, but my only concern would be the long-term durability of the upper, because even though my pair looks pretty pristine, but I could definitely imagine that if a lot of people step on your shoes and you have a lot of toe drags, that this mesh upper could fray. So overall for the materials, I am gonna have to give it a B+. I do knock it a few points because the materials are pretty cheap, and because I do question the long-term durability of the upper. Then moving on to the support, I do think this is one of the strengths of the shoe because you do have quite a few support features, some of them major and some of them pretty subtle. So for the support of the shoe, the first thing would be that you have a nice and flat base that also is pretty wide. This really does make you feel pretty stable, especially on explosive side-to-side movements. Then on the outsole as well, you can see that torsional support that actually wraps up to the midsole. This support piece doesn't only give you torsional support here at the midfoot, but it also keeps your foot on the footbed since it comes up on the lateral side. This feature does really help cup your foot and is also aided by that midsole which kinda is sculpted and kinda comes up to really just wrap around your foot. Then for the last support feature, you do have an internal heel counter which really helps keep your heel from sliding side to side. Overall, for the most part, Donovan Mitchell shoes have been really supportive and very stable, and with the DON Issue number 3, it's no different. So for the support, I'm gonna have to give the DON Issue number 3 an A. All of the support features on the shoe are spot on, and the only thing I would really change is to make the upper a little more supportive, but aside from that, the support is pretty much on the money. Then moving on to fit and lockdown, if I thought support was the strength of the shoe, then fit and lockdown would definitely be the weakness. The fit on the shoe is actually excellent here at the midfoot and pretty good here at the forefoot. There is just a tiny bit of extra space on the forefoot, but that's not really the issue. But the big problem I did have with the fit and lockdown was here at the heel. There was definitely a lot of heel slippage on the shoe, and I don't think it was necessarily a problem of finding the right size, but more of the sculpt of the heel and the materials on the liner. The material on the sock liner isn't that grippy, and for the sculpt here at the heel, it is kind of weird because you don't have the usual Achilles pillows, and it's also not sculpted like a heel. Instead, it is just kind of lightly padded, and I think that just makes the back part not really fit around your heel, making you have the feeling like your heel is gonna pop out of the shoe. However, the one positive thing is that my heel never really actually popped out of the shoe because the lacing on the shoe is actually pretty good. Then if you are wondering, this bungee strap on the midfoot doesn't really do anything because when you do tie your shoes, it is just kind of loosely there and it's not really taut or really stretched out. So in that regard, it's really not doing anything. So for my recommendation on the sizing, if you have a narrow foot or a normal width foot, go through the size. And if you have a wide foot, either go through the size or up half a size. Like I said, I don't think that heel slippage was affected by the sizing, so even if I went down half a size, I think I'd still have the same issue, just because it's more of an issue on the shape of the back part of the shoe rather than a sizing issue. So with that being said, for the fit and lockdown on the DON Issue number 3, I'm gonna have to give it a C+. I know that is quite low, but the heel slippage on the shoe is pretty bad, and there's just no getting around the fact that that kind of just bothers you a lot, especially when you're pretty conscious of it on the court. Then moving on to the overall aesthetics of the shoe, I have been growing a lot more fond of this colorway and this silhouette, and I guess you can say I'm a fan of how the DON Issue number 3 looks. I mean, it does have a pretty unique look to it. I mean, you have that support piece here on the side, and with this colorway in particular, you do have a lot of graffiti on the shoe, like on the upper, on the sock liner, and on that support piece again, and it just looks really unique, and it really stands out against all of the other signature shoes. Like I said, I really enjoy this colorway, but there are also a lot of upcoming colorways like the Venom colorway that get me pretty excited about the shoe. I do understand though that this design and this colorway isn't for everyone, and even though I personally like the shoe, I mean, it isn't perfect. Like, I wish they replaced these wing pieces with a different color, and I also don't like these plastic pieces on the forefoot. So for the overall aesthetics on the DON Issue number 3, I'm gonna have to give it a B+. I was definitely really close to giving it an A, but I do have some issues with some pieces on the shoe, and I also did take into consideration that this isn't everyone's cup of tea. Then for the price, the DON Issue number 3 retails for 5,800 pesos here in the Philippines, or $110 US. They did bump up the price just a little bit from last year's model. I mean, it isn't that much of a difference, so I guess it doesn't really matter that much, but at least with that slight uptick in the price, I feel like the DON Issue number 3 is better than the number 2. It isn't, however, better than the DON Issue number 1 in my opinion, so just for me personally, if I had the DON Issue number 1 and I was thinking of upgrading to the number 2 or the number 3, I probably wouldn't, just because I feel like the number 1 was the best. But like I said, these do just retail at $110 US, and they will probably go on some flash sales, or you might have some vouchers that you can use on these, and if you can get these for less than retail, then I think that's a really good deal. And then get these over at the Adidas website, so you can definitely head over there, and these should also be available in all of your Adidas stores. So for the price, I'm gonna have to give it an A. It is a really good and inexpensive signature shoe, and for what you get, it is pretty good. And I mean, it is just $110, and these will probably get discounted, so you can definitely get these for less. So overall, for the DON Issue number 3, it has some great support, some nice and soft materials, grippy and durable traction, especially if you play on a clean court, adequate cushion that is good for shifty guards, and a pretty solid overall aesthetic. The only really big issue on the shoe is that heel slippage, which is why I can't really highly recommend this shoe. But if you try these on in store and it fits you right, then I think you should go for it because it is just a $110 shoe. So if I were to rank these against the other DON Issue models, I'd have the DON Issue 1 first, these DON Issue number 3s would be second, and the DON Issue number 2 would be third. And if I were to compare these with the other signature shoes from Adidas, I would definitely have the Dame 7 number 1, these would be number 2, and the Harden Volume 5 would be last. So there you have it guys, that was my full performance review on the DON Issue number 3. Once again, if you liked the video, please make sure to leave a thumbs up down below. And if you haven't already yet, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and click that bell icon for notifications. It would help us out a lot. Here's Sneaks and Ball, PH.